Hey gang. Welcome to this special short video edition of ZEIT Heist by Stream. This is kind of what it is right now, at least. I would like to get back to doing fuller episodes, but life has been such that this is kind of what I'm doing, and I actually like doing it in different locations and just shorter, on the fly, off the cuff episodes as they come. That lack of consistency is really good for growing an audience. So, what I've been thinking about lately is that I kind of got this download, for lack of a better term. I don't know how I feel about that term, but it does seem to be a way to describe it, a piece of information that seems to have come from a place outside of me, or from my highest self, or whatever. I was at Mount Tabor a couple of weeks ago and had smoked a little bit of weed and was just lying on the grass, wiggling around with my shirt off, like being transported to another dimension or being worked on by non-material beings. And the message was, at that time, and that still feels true right now, one, that I don't need books anymore. And I'll explain what I mean by that, for me in particular, in a minute, but also that the body, the vessel, holds all the information that I need. Because since 2020, for sure, but really for most of my conscious life, since, who knows, age 15, age 12, age 8, even when I was still in the church, even when I was still in the world of Christianity, I've always been on this search for what this means, what this universe is, what's real, what's true. Is there one big truth? Is there one, capital T truth to everything? Is there one anchor that I can attach myself to for the rest of life that will remain true no matter what occurs in my own personal existence or in the rest of the world? Just been on a search for knowledge. And that has taken me to many different books, many different authors, many different spiritual paths, mystical paths, world religions, ways of thinking, crazy out there ideas. Until, and along the way I've kind of piecemealed together this way of thinking about the world, thinking about the universe, thinking about consciousness. And a lot of that has come through books and reading and study and podcasts and listening to this teacher or this author or this guru or this swami or this guy who channels aliens or this lady who channels, her dead husband, who's like just wild shit. And progressively getting weirder in the eyes of some, but in a way that kind of makes sense to me. It's like the weirder the idea doesn't seem that far-fetched anymore, the more that I kind of sort of understand how this all works. But so when I was on at Tabor, basically the message more or less was just like, you don't need any books, man. That's not where the answer is gonna be. So many times there have been, a statement or a quote that resonated with me at a time of life, and I would write it down and I would be like, oh man, yes, this is it. Maybe not the truth, but like, this is a way of living. This is a thing or an idea or a way of being that I can anchor myself to. If I can just remember this one thing every day and operate within this framework, then I'll be good. But inevitably, within a couple days I forget, or I find some new piece of information and it's like, oh no, this is the one, finally. Okay, right, yeah. And all of those are probably kind of true. All of them are valid. It doesn't mean any of them are bullshit. But there's something in me, maybe because of being raised in Christianity, and that there is this thing to point at, which is God or Jesus as the answer to everything. God created everything, Jesus saves everyone, God created the world, and at the end we all go get to be with him if we're good enough and we get let into the big sparkly shiny golden place. So because of being raised in that way of thinking, I think in some ways I've wanted, for lack of a better term, a savior. Not to be saved from something, but one idea to cling to. And that doesn't seem to be how it works. So, and I can't really articulate how each new thing I've read and each new thing I've learned and along the last 4 years or 18 years, one has led to another, like a stepping stone, and has opened my mind more and more to realize how strange this existence is, how much of life happens in the ethereal, in the invisible, non-material realms of reality. And so to get that message, that I don't need books anymore, that it's not going to be someone outside of me's idea that is going to be my anchor, that is going to be my truth, but that I have it within me. And I mean, I've already come across that idea before in a number of paths or systems or whatever. And it's sort of hard to trust that because I feel so lost some of the time, so utterly just spiraling through mystery. But also, I do think that is correct or true or real, whatever the term is, and that it's not only true for me, but it's true for you and for everybody, that the way is within you. I even think that's what Jesus meant when he said the kingdom of God is within you. And that wasn't some line that modern day preachers have twisted into, you need to accept Jesus into your heart so that you're saved. It's like, no, Jesus was an awakened being who was trying to reflect people back at themselves and just be like, you have the answer, not me. So it's been, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks since I was at Tabor and had that kind of revelation, and have been sitting with it, experimenting with it meditatively, and just a little bit trying to surrender to that idea. I've still been reading because I'm interested in other ideas. I'm reading more Carlos Castaneda, and I'm reading this book called The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, because science and technology and universe and astrology and the ethereal, all that stuff is still interesting to me, and I still glean something from it. But ultimately, I do think the answer, the sort of final answer, if there is one, is going to come from me. And then this sort of second aspect of the body being the vessel, being the body being the vessel where all truth exists. This pertains to the idea, I think, of, like in Hinduism, meditating until one's chakras are aligned, these energetic points in the body, and that the sort of debris has been cleared and the energy is flowing freely, and that it is a biological process of purification that leads to what some call a spiritual experience of enlightenment or awakening, and that this is a singular profound moment where one's perspective utterly changes and they are no longer the same for the rest of their incarnation in this body. This is the way that many of these Hindu teachers talk about it, these swamis, or people in the Vedanta tradition, this kind of capital R realization that everything is one thing. And you guys have heard me say that before, and I still more or less think that is correct. I haven't experienced this. I don't even know if it is a thing to be experienced, or I don't know. I don't know how it works. And there's a part of me that is very much longing to experience that, to achieve that state or arrive at that, probably because I think it will give me some sort of liberation from suffering, or at least some kind of sense of place in the universe, some sense of who I am, what I am, why I'm here, and what I do from here on until I'm dead. And you know, one of my most important spiritual teachers, Danny, from the way that she talks, I do believe has experienced this, and that it's not a fucking gimmick. It's not flowery, fruity spiritual talk, but it's incredibly real, and it is accessible by absolutely anyone, and that people arrive at that from many, many different paths. And that interwoven into this idea is that a person finally breaks out of the cycle of birth and redeath, and coming back over and over in material form to new incarnations and new bodies, but that they are reabsorbed into the oneness of everything. And yeah, that they break the cycle of suffering. Because to be in a body is to suffer. To be alive and to be in gross material form is to suffer. That doesn't have to be a nihilistic idea. It's just like, these bodies do die. They break down, no matter whether you're a leaf or a bug or a cow or a person or a fucking giraffe, you know? And there is part of me that's like, well, I would love to get to that point in this body, in this life, while this Josh is the one thinking about these things and trying to work it out and figure it out. Because yeah, it'd be nice to not have to come back. And probably there are intelligent, energetic entities in the universe who find that very cute and laughable, that I'm struggling so hard to achieve something that's probably not even something to achieve. But I don't know. So I've just been sitting with that and trying to get back to a place of taking better care of my body as I start this episode with a cigarette. Not that it's some dogmatic bullshit where you have to like follow, you know, eating a certain way, denying certain substances, whatever. I think it can be anything. But would it lend better to this whole process if my body was in the best shape that it could be, you know, in every sense? Would that make it easier or faster, or just set me up for success, so to speak? So yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. And even in this current moment of life, in which I find myself in a position that I never would have really imagined, but that is kind of fascinating and adventurous and wonderful and really fun and cool in a lot of ways. That it's like, if any pattern or message is true right now, it definitely is surrender. It is letting go of control. It's letting go of thinking that I know how any of this works. But it's also this beautiful aspect of everything being interconnected. My thoughts and ideas and my art and my words and my location on this planet and my breath and the people that surround me and my dreams and the community that I find myself in right now. I think it's all related. And I even think that some pre-incarnate Josh chose this adventure, this particular life that I'm living, because this is what I wanted to experience. If I chose my avatar like choosing a character in a video game, then I do think this is the one I would have chosen. I really like being Josh Gaines. I like my ideas. I like who I am. I like the unconventional path that my life has followed. It's pretty fucking cool. And would I rather be anyone else? No, actually, no. And I think most people's answer is that. I can be envious of other people's talents or things that they have or their position in life, or thinking jealously that they are somehow having a more enjoyable, successful existence, but it's like, that's all pretend. And people look at me that way. So I don't think comparison is ever the answer, or that there's even any validity to that, really. But that we're in our own experience in order to figure out, what is it to be this person? What is it to be this thing? What am I supposed to do? Or what am I able to do? And this symbol of the flower of life that I've talked about before, and that I don't really understand at all, but that I like thinking about, and it's kind of fascinating to me lately. It's just like that interconnectedness, and that I am a singular being in a body, but also that I'm connected to everything that is, and that if all of this is one, then it would want to support and take care of itself in every form. And that the more that I give myself over to that idea, it seems to be true, and more magic, more enjoyment, more provision, and more abundance perhaps comes from that, as opposed to thinking that I am this independent person who has to do everything myself. So yeah, I mean, I feel like the thrust of this show is always just, it's like little pinpoints in time for what I'm thinking about at the moment, and just me trying to figure it out always, and hoping that these thoughts are helpful to you in making sense of your own framework, making sense of your own life, or giving you ideas that spur you onward. And I do really think, as cliche as it is to say, being in the moment is really important. And because this is goofy and obvious, but that's the only moment we're ever in, is the current one. And thinking about the future and fretting about it, or being hung up on the past and upset about things that are literally no longer there, there's not a lot of value in that. But I am right here, right now, and I can choose how to be, and I can follow excitement and joy and pleasure and bliss, and that somehow that seems to be a cool thing to do. And I'm very much still learning to let go of, I constantly get hung up on the past, even on the recent past, replaying conversations that were upsetting to me, or moments where I felt weak or stupid, or wish I had stood up for myself better or said a different thing in a certain moment. But it's like, man, I also have years and years of a really cynical attitude and pattern and way of seeing the world that I'm still breaking out of, that I'm still letting that programming leave me, and just be like, dude, why would I get myself so worked up about something from the past? It's like, trauma is real, and that shit is stored in the body, and there is value in dealing with that, and it does take time, and it's a process. But the more I can be here and just be like, damn, I'm outside, it's warm, I'm surrounded by greenery, I hear running water, I get to do art tonight with my friends, and I have everything I need. I have food, I have a bed, my daughter has what she needs. It's just like, it's fine, dude. It's all right. This is actually pretty cool. And it's simple, and I don't need more than this, really. So can I just fucking relax and have some fun, and let the art that I make be fun? Let the work that I do be as fun as possible. So yeah, I do think, I don't know how to articulate this, but I do think the world is changing. I do think consciousness globally is changing. I do think these things like eclipses and solar flares and full moons, and other events in the solar system do have an effect on us. And I even do believe that there are intelligences beyond our understanding that are trying to help humanity. It's easy to look at the world and all the events happening at once, and all of the suffering, all of the evil, all of the, most wretched fucks be the ones in power. It can be pretty gloomy from one perspective, but I also think there are larger mechanisms at work behind the scenes of all that, and to just hold on, to not get wrapped up in the cynicism and the negativity and in the hating of admittedly evil people. It's like, even that's I think that shit is going to work itself out. And I do think that the point is just to focus on ourselves and who we're immediately surrounded by, who we can actually help, who we can influence. And Ram Dass said, he's like, the best thing I can do for you is work on me. The best thing you can do for me is work on you. And I think that's absolutely true, locally and globally. Yeah, as bleak as everything seems, as much as it seems and feels all the time like everything could blow up and fall apart any minute, I'm not denying that could possibly happen. But what if I chose to believe in the best possible outcome for myself and for everybody? and to believe that humanity actually pulls through this shit and ends up more enlightened, instead of us just like completely fucking ourselves and our planet until we're all dead. That is, as often as I can remember, how I choose to think about it. And I do feel confident that dwelling on the possibility of disaster is not helpful. Because at least right now, we're okay. At least I hope you're okay. All right, I think I'll stop there. But yeah, hold on, take care of yourself, enjoy something, anything, be in this moment, take some deep breaths, rest when you need to. It's all right. It's all right. Believe in the best possible outcome. Don't sit on a root or your butt goes numb. All right, love you guys. See you next time.